So we're diving into AWS IAM roles in Jenkins. First, we need to understand what IAM roles even do. Think of them as security gatekeepers. Next, we create a role in AWS, which is like giving Jenkins a permission slip. Then we attach policies, like telling Jenkins exactly what it's allowed to do. Finally, we integrate it into Jenkins so it can start working its cloud magic. I'm Amelia James, a technology expert with 13+ years of experience designing and delivering human resource management systems that actually work for people. I specialize in building scalable integrated HR platforms that streamline processes, enhance employee experience, and give leadership real-time, actionable insights. AWS IAM roles are here to save the day. They help us manage secure access without hard-coded credentials, because let's be honest, storing passwords in code is a disaster waiting to happen. Roles provide temporary permissions, which means no lingering access risks. And the best part, they can be used across multiple AWS services, making security both simple and powerful. IAM roles in Jenkins aren't just a nice-to-have, they're a must. They keep security tight by ditching static credentials, because who wants a security breach? With IAM roles, Jenkins can access AWS resources seamlessly. It also means role-based access control, so we don't accidentally grant Jenkins too much power. And let's talk automation. This setup makes workflows smoother than a fresh cup of coffee. Before we jump into IAM role setup, let's check our toolkit. First, you need an AWS account with IAM permissions, because no permissions, no progress. Jenkins should be up and running, ready to take on AWS integration. You'll also need AWS CLI installed for smooth management. And a basic understanding of IAM policies will ensure we're not just pressing buttons and hoping for the best. Let's start by setting up IAM credentials in Jenkins, because security is not just a checkbox, it's a lifestyle. First, we create an AWS IAM role with the right permissions. Then we generate access keys, because magic words like Open Sesame sadly don't work here. Next, we securely store these credentials in Jenkins. Finally, we run a test build, because what's the fun in setting up credentials if we don't see them work? Time to assume an IAM role in Jenkins. No superhero cape required. We first define the IAM role in AWS, then use SDS to fetch temporary credentials. Jenkins pipeline then needs to play nice with this setup. The grand finale, testing permissions to make sure Jenkins doesn't throw a tantrum midway. Smooth execution, zero headaches. Passing IAM credentials securely is like sending a secret mission briefing. No leaks allowed. We use environment variables for credentials, because plain text passwords are so last decade. The Jenkins credentials plugin makes security effortless. Hard-coded secrets, big no-no. Finally, we keep an eye on access logs, because even Jenkins deserves some detective work. Testing IAM role access in Jenkins is like checking the parachute before jumping. It's non-negotiable. We first verify permissions, then execute test builds. AWS CLI helps us double-check access manually, because trust but verify. Finally, we log errors so that troubleshooting later doesn't feel like decoding hieroglyphs. Troubleshooting is where we channel our inner detective. First, we check IAM permissions. Missing access can ruin the party. Then Jenkins logs, because error messages don't lie. Environment variables need a double check to ensure proper credential setup. And of course, network connectivity, because talking to AWS is pretty crucial. Best practices time, because good security habits are like eating veggies, necessary but often ignored. Least privilege access keeps things tight. Rotating credentials ensures hackers don't get comfy. Monitoring access is like CCTV for Jenkins, keeping unwanted guests out. And ditching static credentials. Yes, please. Security is no joke, unless you love surprise breaches. We restrict access, because not everyone should have superpowers. Multi-factor authentication, because one lock is never enough. Auditing IAM roles keeps us in compliance. And finally, minimizing temporary credential exposure prevents Jenkins from accidentally leaving the keys to the kingdom out in the open. We've covered a lot, and now it's time to tie things up. IAM roles in Jenkins need careful configuration, secure handling, and continuous monitoring. Just like parenting, but without the teenage rebellion. Keep following best practices, stay vigilant, and explore further resources to keep IAM security top-notch. Please do like, share, and subscribe to our channel. For more information, contact us.